It was January the 8th of 1956 when 5 missionaries landed a plane in the southern region of Ecuador trying to reach the Auca Indians, whom they had made many contact with before. Among them was Jim Elliot, Nate Saint, Ed McCully, Roger Yoderlane. They were all slaughtered. The wife, Elizabeth Elliot, the wife of Jim Elliot, wrote a book about it called Through the Gates of Splendor. But when the message of this slaughter got back to Texas, to Dallas, Texas, there was a group of men studying evangelism in a school known as BEST, Bible Evangelistical Schools of Texas. When that word got back, 7 missionary families decided they were going to take their place. Among those 7 was my father by the name of Gerald Rose. Gerald and Kathy Rose. They determined that they would go back to South America. They didn't make it to Ecuador, but they did to Peru. And they arrived on the anniversary 2 years later, January the 8th of 1958. The Rose family landed in Lima, Peru, and other missionaries did too, and they scattered when they got here. My father settled up here in the city of Huancayo, Peru. And I was raised in this country. I left out of Peru back in 1973, heading back home to finish education. I graduated from the Quinlan High School in near Dallas, Texas. From high school, and from there we went on to college and to Tennessee Temple. I was there for a while. And after that, well, I worked in many Spanish churches. I speak Spanish fluently. I grew up here. And we wound up in Houston working with the Iglesia Bautista del Calvario, where Brother Pete Covarrubias is the pastor. And it was there that the Lord was really dealing with me strongly about missions. I'm not going to say that I jumped up and ran. No, as a matter of fact, I fought it for a while. And it was through the scriptures, reading of the scriptures, that it dawned all over me that the Lord wanted me back in Peru. He used Isaiah chapter 55, verses 12 and 13 to get back to the mountains, as it says in that verse. And he promised I'd be led forth with peace. And instead of the thorn that I'd left behind, a tree would grow up for the glory of the Lord. And when I say a thorn left behind, I wished I could sit here and tell you that I have a wonderful past, but that's not the truth. The Lord had to save me from my sin, just like He had to save everybody else. I made a profession of faith as a young man, but I didn't really understand salvation until I was 23 years old. And I'd already been on the field for 2 years before I actually came to realization of what salvation by grace through faith was really all about. And I actually came to know the Lord as my Savior, my Lord and Savior, in the year of 1983. And after that, well, my pastor recommended me to take off on deputation. I have to confess that I was pretty novice at it, although I grew up in it, but to actually do it is a different ballgame. And it was through that time, well, that I met Celeste. I was on deputation. Went up to a little town called Porter, Indiana. That was way up in Yankee land, way up there near Chicago. I didn't know you could breathe up that far north. I'd never been past the Mason-Dixon line. But I went up there and I met Celeste. And I found out that she also was praying about missions for a long time. And well, it took me a while to convince her that I was the missionary she's supposed to spend the rest of her life with. And we got married the following year, 1984, in October of 1984. And it was in October of 85, the following year, that I was ordained into the gospel ministry and sent out of what back then was known as Bethel Baptist Church. And with our newborn baby boy, we boarded a plane on October the 9th and landed in Santiago, Chile on October 10th, 1985. From there we took a train all the way down to the city of Puerto Montt, Chile, where the Lord helped us establish the Central Baptist Church in Puerto Montt, and then in 1990, further on down south, in the city of Calbuco, established the Central Baptist Church in Chile.